How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the recap show of the most recent UFC pay-per-view, UFC 244, with the main event being Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz for the belt to determine the baddest motherfucker in the game. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Jalen Johnson,
Yes, sir. How's it going?
and also returning to the show is my boy Blake. How's it going, dog?
Hey man, thanks for having me.
Of
Doing
course.
doing well. How you guys doing?
Big
Pretty
well.
good.
Man, especially after watching this card, I'm doing pretty damn good.
Hell yeah.
But what a night of fighting! Definitely one of the biggest nights in recent memory, maybe recent UFC history. It might only be capped this card for this year might only be capped by next year's 245, just due to the how many fights.
Well,
How many
this
big
year's
fights.
45 December.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, next month's. Forgive me.
Yeah.
But I think this fight or this whole night was just filled with crazy knockouts and just a bunch of badass shit. So I think we
Yeah.
should just get going into it and start with the prelims. Jalen, you were talking to me about this, and you were really excited after watching these prelims, weren't you?
Yeah. And it was definitely unexpected how fast they were going. Watching the prelims, they usually have a set time of how long they expect each fight to go so it could be fluid. But the fights were ending so fast, the first one ending in 29 seconds. They had to keep putting a whole bunch of time gaps and commercials to fill in the time because fights were just ending left and right. It was amazing.
It was a production man, or is the head of production's nightmare when it comes to trying to run the
Pretty
show, huh?
much. Like starting off a prelim is kind of you just came off the early prelims. You got a couple fights. You plan on getting everything ready for the main card, and then the first guy ends the fight in 29 seconds, and now you're like, crap. So definitely a nightmare for the production team.
Yeah, man. Blake, what were your initial thoughts after watching the prelims?
Very quick start, like you guys were saying. I just couldn't believe it just seemed like everyone was just dropping like flies to start off the
Yeah,
card,
man.
man. I mean, knockout after TKO. So entertaining. I mean, really, you couldn't take your eyes off the screen. I mean, I was trying to cook dinner and get all my, barbecue stuff situated, and I just couldn't find myself pulling myself away from the screen long enough to really do anything very helpful in the kitchen.
Right, man. Who would have thought going into Saturday night that the prelims would rival the stacked main card that they had?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
If someone,
That usually does not happen.
right before this
They had
prelims,
some
if
sneaky
someone,
good talent on the prelims,
They
though.
did,
Really,
actually.
that Shabazian kid,
it was just
he's going to be
Shabazian's a
it was just
beast.
overshadowed by the main card, but the prelims could be a stacked fight night main card. Honestly,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that definitely could have been. So just to go over the fights that happened in the prelims for everybody who does not know. First fight was Rosenstrike versus Arlovsky, ended in 29 seconds versus first round KO. Second fight of the prelims was Tavares versus Shabazian, ended around 2 minutes and 30 seconds off of a head kick KO. In the first round,
not
also.
the last one of the
Uh,
night.
Third fight was Burgos versus Americani. That one went 3 rounds, but also ended in a TKO. Next fight after that on the prelims was Johnny Walker versus Corey Anderson, which also ended in a first round KO.
Yeah, that shit's nuts.
Yeah.
Man.
That's how you want to start a fight card, though, right? I mean,
Man, how else do you
four
get
knockouts,
people,
four out of four?
right? But how else do you get people? Because of course, the prelims, the early prelims, are also there for the UFC to get last minute buys on the pay per view. What better way to do it than to see a shit ton of knockouts?
Right.
Yeah,
that
pretty
had to be
much.
good for business.
Yeah, and definitely a lot of the guys who were on this prelims were definitely guys who could have been those first fight main card guys.
Mhm.
So I feel like a lot of them kind of felt disrespected by being on this prelim and wanted to show out. And I definitely think a lot of them did.
So they chose to take their anger out, maybe their frustration towards Dana, onto their opponents and just beat the shit out of everyone.
Yeah, and a couple of dance moves were thrown out there too. Um, I thought it was funny, Johnny Walker coming out dancing, trying to do what Israel Adesanya did. But I feel like the last thing we were talking about when the Israel Adesanya fight happened was if you're going to come out dancing like that, you better win.
Yeah,
And
right.
Johnny Walker came out and got destroyed.
That was
And
just
then
seems like a
after
fucking
that,
scrub for that.
yeah, Anderson comes out and starts doing all his dance moves that Johnny Walker just did. Like that's he. Anderson also pointed out he did feel disrespected at the weigh-ins when he was announced. The crowd was completely silent. Like it was pretty sad how silent they were. And then they called Johnny Walker's name and they just exploded. So I feel like this was anger. That was just straight up anger by Corey Anderson. And then after the fight, he announces to Dana White, I either want a title fight or I want to be released. Dana White said it was kind of a bitch ass thing to do by Corey Anderson, which I think is funny.
Wait, he actually said bitch ass.
I think he said bitch ass. It was bitch something. It was bleeped
Fucking
after
Dana.
BIT. So it was long enough to be bitch ass. So I'm pretty sure it was bitch ass.
Fucking Dana, dude. Isn't he just like the best like president of any kind of sports?
I would love
league
to see him as the president
world?
of the NFL.
Commissioner
Commissioner
Dana
White. That'd be awesome.
The one commission that would actually try
he
to
said,
fight the people that he runs or the organization that he runs.
Definitely. But then Dana came out and said that to get what you want in this business, you have to go out there and prove it. And he said that Corey Anderson has proved that he deserves better. So he said definitely Corey Anderson will be up there in the talks for light heavyweight. But also, we just had a couple other guys win some good fights that are also in that top 10, top 5 that also want fights. So he said it's going to be up there. Reyes just won his fight against who was that he just fought?
Weidman.
Was that Weidman?
Yeah.
He fought Weidman, right?
That was a Weidman
Yeah.
at UFC Boston.
Yeah, he fought Weidman at UFC Boston. So he said Reyes just won his fight. So he said the lightweight is kind of up for discussion.
See, I
but
think
definitely
Reyes
Corey
is-
Anderson's name will be mixed in there.
Yeah. I think he should be up there, but Reyes, I think, is probably going to be the best matchup moving forward for Jones.
I think Reyes is probably the best matchup against Jones. I think I'd probably give it to Anderson, just based off Anderson's been here for a while and he's continuously been consistent and proving himself. Reyes is still kind of newer. And when you stop kind of the train that Johnny Walker wasn't just fighting dudes. He was obliterating dudes before this fight. And to come in there and obliterate him, I feel like that gives you either a title shot or at least somebody in the top 2, top 3, something like that. I'd probably give it to Reyes just because he's higher.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it to Reyes because he's higher ranked. But I definitely think he should be within Johnny Bones' next 1 or 2 fights.
I think so. So once Reyes becomes the next win for John Jones, then you feed Anderson to him.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you have to do. And Anderson tried also, try to get a few pay-per-view sales just in case his fight gets made by calling John Jones a fraud. He said John Jones went from a role model to a fraud after everything that happened over the past couple of years.
Yeah. But that, man, one hell of a prelims. If you guys could go watch the highlights of that, I definitely would. But after the prelims, let's just move on into the main card of all of it. But the main card started off with a lightweight bout where Kevin Lee took out Gregor Gillespie via knockout TKO in only round 1. And knockout doesn't describe what actually happened in this fight. But Lake, initial thoughts on this one?
This was an insane fight. I mean, Kevin Lee, you don't really know what to expect from him. I mean, of recent, he's kind of hot and then cold. And so going into this fight, he even came out and said that he needed to make a statement. And that he did, for sure. I mean, that was the craziest head kick KO I've seen probably this year.
That was without doubt the holy shit moment. I love.
Yeah, he put him to sleep with a
I
smile
love
on his
the
face.
video.
That's how you know he
was
got fucked
out.
up.
Right? But I love the video of just the Joe Rogan and the other commentators' reactions when it happened. It was hilarious.
Definitely. Those are some of the best.
But
Those are some of the most genuine reactions.
Yeah, Kevin Lee
What was
said
really
that he had to
trippy
pull
me
something
was
out of
just
his
that
bag.
actual sound, like the sound of just when they played no other audio, just the actual flesh hitting and the bone hitting the other bone, and it just sounded fucking gnarly.
It sounded like a home run hit. It sounded like a
Yes,
baseball cracking off a bat. It was nuts.
No,
yes,
definitely that was dangerous.
Like
That's not something you see every day. He
no.
put him to sleep.
A
He just
foot making
locked up
contact
and
with
fell.
someone's skull should not sound that loud. It shouldn't.
Mm-mm. Not at all. And we said it in the last podcast. Kevin Lee, if he kept fighting the way he's been fighting, he wasn't going to win, and he was going to keep dropping down on the rankings. We said he had to do something spectacular or spontaneous to win this fight, and that's exactly what he had to do. And I fucking love it.
Oh, it was.
it really helps him too because it keeps his name relevant again. I mean, now he's got some steam behind his name again. He's an attractive fight for other fighters that are trying to build a name for themselves, build their brand up. So he's gonna definitely have a good backing whenever he goes into his next fight, judging off this last performance.
Yep. When you win
Definitely.
a fight, it makes a good statement. But when you win a fight like this and have a knockout that goes viral all over the internet, that's another level.
Yeah, it definitely helps you out, especially when the guy goes out cold. Like that wasn't no extra punches needed.
Out.
Just out.
What it was super necessary.
Super necessary.
We'll get to that man a little later in the show. But man, what a KO. But it was weird. In the next fight, it was the heavyweight bout where Derek Lewis was able to knock off Blagoy Ivanov via split decision. And this was the one that people thought was going to be one of the better knockouts of the night, and it actually went the distance. What the hell?
Yeah, no, definitely. I was definitely surprised this is the one that didn't land the finish. But after kind of finding out a little bit more about Ivanov, I kind of respect it because of how what he comes from, getting stabbed in the chest and only being out for 21 months and then going back to fighting. Like that's some crazy shit. And Derek Lewis was landing bombs. Like, don't get me wrong, Derek Lewis was landing bombs. But I think Ivanov is just beyond tough. And he just took those shots and kept throwing it back.
Yeah, he did. Blake, did you? I know you didn't see this one going the distance either, did you?
No, but I mean, I'm not surprised. I kind of
Really?
was telling my friends, just judging how the fight card had already gone, I was like, man, don't be surprised if this is the one fight that doesn't end in a knockout. This always fucking happens. The one fight you think is guaranteed for a knockout. Like when Derek Lewis fought Francis Ngannou a little while back. Everyone just thought that was going to be a vicious KO on someone. But it just doesn't ever pan out sometimes.
Yeah, if we're
And
talking
credit
about
to...
that fight. That was one of the shittiest fights in the history of the UFC.
Right, that was
Yeah,
terrible.
definitely very boring.
Was that
But no,
the
credit
DC
to
Stipe,
Blagoy, for sure.
DC Stipe 1 fight? Was it on that card? It was. Was a couple summers ago now. Crazy
Yeah.
to see the worth of those two guys are in the span of a couple years, right? Or like a year and a half.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Francis Ngannou's on a different fucking level. That dude, it could fight a silverback gorilla and knock it the fuck out right now.
And definitely the fight, it was kind of, while it wasn't the big knockout we wanted to see, it kind of showed Derek Lewis is improving because he got taken down. He got out of about, I'm pretty sure it was 4 or 5 submission attempts, and he didn't panic. He didn't stay on the ground for long, and usually his problem has been gassing out. He didn't look tired at all during the entire fight, and then getting taken to the ground was his other problem. Usually when he gets taken down, he sits there until the next round starts, and then he tries to throw a big bomb at the beginning because he can't get up. And in this fight, he totally shows that he's revolutionized his game, and that I'm definitely excited to see him start fighting those top 5 guys again who beat him because of wrestling.
You think he
and
made
see
this
if he can turn it around on him.
change and focus more on his wrestling after he got wrestle fucked by Daniel Cormier in the title fight a number of months ago?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think that probably lit him up, and then definitely that other his fight before it was Gas Tank. So I feel like after having those 2 fights, I mean, he didn't win that fight by knockout, but before that, he was getting destroyed before he ended up letting that knockout with 11 seconds left. But other than that, his big gas tank and his ground game. So I think he's definitely improved, and being able to stay up and get back up when getting taken down and laying those bombs on somebody probably not as tough as Ivanov, which it's really hard to find somebody else as tough as Ivanov.
Yeah. I
think he
you're talking
knocks a
about
lot
a
of
dude that
people
got
out.
stabbed in the fucking chest and took
Yeah,
21 months
definitely.
off and then was back to kicking ass in the UFC.
Yeah, so
If that ain't the
I
most
definitely
Russian
think
man kind of shit you've heard.
that's definitely one of the most Russian things I've heard. Getting stabbed in the chest and going back to fighting. It's definitely one of the most Russian things I've heard.
See,
But it
it's
just,
useless to
I
have a
think,
fucking stare down with him in the after the weigh-ins because you can't intimidate a man that got stabbed in the chest. You just can't.
you have to be a bad motherfucker to do something like that.
Is Blagoy Ivanov the real best motherfucker? Yeah. Good fight, though. There was a little controversy. A lot of people did think that Ivanov took that fight due to the amount of submissions they was able to attempt, and the amount of takedowns. What did you guys think about that? Did you agree with the decision?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time, dude? My audio.
No, you're good. But so there was a lot of controversy regarding the way the judges scored this contest. Do you agree with the judges, or do you think that Ivanov should have actually won this fight?
It's kind of a difference in philosophies, I think, really is what it comes down to. Because the way I kind of judge a fight is whoever's kind of whipping the most ass, in my opinion. And throughout that whole fight, you could really tell Derek Lewis was whipping the most ass. I mean, he was landing the heavier shots. He was definitely the closest to getting the fight over with, getting the fight ended on his terms. And those submissions that he was in, it was never really cinched. I mean, I don't think he was ever necessarily worried super at any point where he thought he was going to possibly get the fight stopped. I mean, he just looked very comfortable anytime that he was on the ground. And like Jay was saying earlier, he was able to get up really on cue. So I think that the judges made the right decision in this case, and they kind of stuck to their guns the whole night.
So you're saying that?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with Blake.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I definitely believe that they made the right choice. My thinking of it is usually when you do end up saying somebody who is heavily ground favored versus someone who's heavily stand up favored, you kind of grade them more in those areas. So my thing is, I think Ivanov did good on the ground, but his submission attempts, the closest he got to actually end the fight, I would say was probably that Americana that he had, was probably the closest he had to finishing the fight. But even that, Derek Lewis looked calm the entire time and then quickly got up right after he broke out of the submission. But you could definitely see times when Derek Lewis stunned Ivanov and was going in because he smelled blood, and Ivanov was just trying to get himself back. And you never really saw those panicky moments on the ground for Lewis. So I definitely think that I could have even seen this going unanimous decision all Derek Lewis, to be honest. I think it still was a close fight, but I definitely could have seen it going all towards Derek Lewis. But I definitely think Derek Lewis was way more dominant on the feet, and Ivanov wasn't dominant enough on the ground to take it.
All right, fair enough.
Now, what do you guys think about Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades?
Ooh, boy, that's a slugfest waiting to happen right there.
They're already shit talking, so
yeah. No, I definitely think that's a slugfest. Yeah, I think that could be a slugfest, but also Blades on the ground is dangerous. He can definitely handle himself on the ground.
Derek
it's just I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he can survive Derek Lewis's blows and get it to the ground and keep it there, like Ivanov wasn't able to do. I think he can win the fight. But I think if it stays standing, there's just Derek Lewis throws bombs and takes bombs.
Yeah, this is what Derek Lewis has to say about the fight.
Let's hear it.
Quote, "That would be a good fight. If he takes me down, I'm going to rest. Get all the rest I can. Then I'm going to get up and knock his ass out. I'm going to try to knock him out. I don't think he's tough enough like that dude I just fought."
Shit.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's going to happen. But honestly, before we move on to the next fight, we cannot... one thing you have to talk about, every time Derek Lewis is in the octagon, you have to talk about his actual fight.
My balls was hot.
But you also have
sorry.
yeah. Oh, thank you, because that's what I was about to say. You have to talk about his post-fight interviews. I think he said some shit like trying to punch the booty hole on Ivanov's chest.
Yep. That was beautiful. He said, I was aiming for that booty hole on his chest.
For
I know
those
he
that
likes
don't
that
know,
butt stuff, but
there's like a little cave in the middle of Ivanov's chest where he got fucking shanked. And Derek Lewis.
Now, is that premeditated, you think, or is that just straight off tops?
I think that's the straight up tops. I feel like I don't think
The
you
shit
think
he
this stuff
said,
out. There's
no.
no way you think that out.
No,
That's
he just
crazy.
fucking
He's
said
hilarious.
that. Derek Lewis
Yeah, I feel like
is a legend.
One of a kind.
Yeah, I feel like he was obviously just talking about it and just thought about it. It's like, man, that thing looked like a booty hole. Maybe I was aiming for that booty hole on his chest. And in my head, when I was thinking about it after I saw it, I was like, man, it looks like he has a second belly button. And then they started talking about him getting stabbed in the chest. Derek Lewis definitely said it a lot better. It looked like a booty hole. So
Derek Lewis, champion
amazing.
He's a winner of the fights, and he is a winner on the mic as well.
Yeah.
So this whole pay-per-view was centered around the belt for the bass motherfucker, but this next fight was probably the belt for the bass mother, or for the nicest mother lover, and that was Wonder Boy Stephen Thompson against Vincent Luke. And this was a welterweight bout where Stephen Thompson did take the dub via unanimous decision, and honestly, he was really close to ending it a couple times. This was a domination. There's just total domination by Thompson.
Yeah, no, definitely. Luque had a couple of bright spots in the fight, but it was never enough to take a round. And then he kept moving and landing shots. Whenever Luque landed, he landed. It was back and forth a lot, but it was always back and forth, and then Thompson would take over, and then back and forth, and then Thompson would take over. So Thompson kept taking every single round.
Mm-hmm.
I felt Luque didn't continuously take it to Thompson, even though he did keep pressing forward. He was getting just tagged every time he took a step forward. Thompson was right there tagging him, moving out the way. In two cases, Thompson had with side kicks that knocked him back. Even at one point, he did a side kick that knocked him down, and he patted him on the back and smiled at him. Like,
Who the fuck
that's
does
something
that?
you see all the
Who
time.
the fuck
Like, he
does
didn't
that?
charge him. He didn't run at him. He didn't try to punch his face off. He kicked him, side kick, a legal kick, nothing wrong with the kick, perfectly fine. The other guy falls, and he stood there, let him get up, patted him on the back, smiled at him, gave him a thumbs up, and said, let's keep fighting. Who does that?
Only the nicest mother lover in the game. Blake, what were your thoughts on this fight?
I think Thompson executed perfectly, pretty much, except for the first round. That was like really the only round that Luque looked remotely dangerous against Thompson. For the most part, Thompson was keeping him at bay, keeping him in his kickboxing range, and just chopping away with those side kicks, and even throwing in some wheel kicks in there, doing some 2-punch combos, just keeping him at range the whole time.
3-piece Minnesota.
Pieced him up, man. Dropped him a few times in the third round, I believe. It was easy money, really. That's what it came down to, just easy money.
Yeah, it was. After this fight,
definitely.
Steven came out and said that he did break both of his hands, and he's praying that he does need surgery on one of them. And is that just salt on the wound for Vincent? Because you got beat so bad that the guy you're fighting broke his hands on your skull. How does that make you feel?
I mean, yeah, it kind of is, but at the same time, it's so not common. But to break your hand, you could doing anything. You could punch the wrong part of somebody's skull.
Yeah.
You could punch at the wrong angle. It's just so many different things. It could be from the amount of punches landed, but at the same time, with that adrenaline going, you feel it, but you don't.
No.
So like you keep punching. So I it kind of is because both hands. That I feel like if it was only one hand, I would say no. But the fact that it was both hands and he kept messing you up like that, I feel like that's also the reason Thompson didn't finish the fight because of the fact that his hands were broke. He wasn't. Yeah, you couldn't put that extra power that he needed to finish it. So,
but
that's probably
man,
the
when people
reason why
keep
he
throwing
didn't
when they break their shit in person, tell me, was it like I think it was last summer? The same card is that shithole of a fight of Lewis and Nagano. I think that was, what was it, Paul
in
Felder
Ghana.
that broke his arm throwing a spinning back fist?
Yeah, I believe he did break his
Yeah.
fist on
He
that. Yeah.
he broke his hand, he broke his arm throwing a
Yeah,
spinning
it was
back fist, right?
against Mike Perry.
That's right, thank you. But he broke his arm throwing a spinning back fist, and then with the same arm, he threw multiple spinning back fists after breaking it. That's fucking badass.
Yeah, it's just the thing is, if you don't throw it, you start noticing the pain. So you kind of just keep throwing it, hoping that you can just finish the fight or get out of there. Because if you stop throwing that fist and you just let it rest, that's when the pain kicks in. So you just have to keep throwing it because that's your best chance of getting through the rest of the night.
Damn near, I guess, man. But that was another solid fight.
My question for you guys is,
Yeah.
who does Thompson fight next now?
Ooh.
Because you look at
That-
the top
that's a good
here, we got Kamaru Usman's the champion. He's
Yeah.
fighting Colby Covington. He's ranked
I
2
can't
currently.
wait for that fight.
Tyron Woodley is ranked number 1.
Mhm.
Jorge Masvidal is ranked number 3. Leon Edwards is ranked number 4.
Are these
And Rafael Dos Anjos is ranked number 5.
I think he
these
fights Dos
rankings,
Anjos.
have these changed since Saturday? Or are these updated ones?
I believe so.
Is Jorge still only number 3?
I believe.
Who's number 2?
Yeah, he's number 1. I mean, he's number 3. Number 1 has to be Colby because that fight hasn't happened yet.
Mhm.
And then Woodley, he only lost to the champ, so you can't move him out that spot.
Okay, that's
And so that's why
Woodley
he's
is
3.
currently number 1. Colby's 2.
Okay,
Jorge's
gotcha,
3.
gotcha.
Leon 4. DA 5.
Man,
Yeah, I think he fights Dos Anjos. That's my bet.
Yeah, I
Steven
think
Thompson is currently ranked number 9.
I think he definitely moves into I think he moves to number 5 after this fight.
Yeah.
But his next, whoever it is going to be someone of the top 5. And then that fight,
He just beat number 14, so I don't think he's going to move anywhere.
Yeah, I
he's
think
gonna move from that?
I think he goes up probably. I think he probably
He's
goes 8 to
supposed to beat
7.
him.
8 or 7. So I think because of the fashion in which he did it, I say he goes up 1 or 2 spots. I say he does not break the top 5.
Okay.
I think he needs to fight Dos Anjos because Dos Anjos is 5,
Yeah.
or Woodley. But I would love to see him fight Woodley again. But at the same time, I don't think he should yet. I think he needs one more fight and then Woodley or belt.
Has he fought Damian Maia yet?
No, I don't
That
think
would-
so.
That would be another
Hmm.
fight that's out there. He's ranked
Yeah.
number 6 currently.
Oh yeah, I totally
after
forgot
that
about Damian Maia.
Pretty good showing against Ben Askren.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's a fight that I'd be interested in, even though it's kind of a clash of styles. But it's a
I
good
think that's
test
what
always
makes
to
it
see the
interesting,
best of one
honestly.
aspect versus the best of another
Yeah.
of the game.
Yeah,
you know?
that's
That'd be
definitely true. There's a lot of different ways we can go with the where he should go next.
Mhm.
It definitely is going to be someone in the top 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I could see them also doing RDA versus Damian Maia too, since they're 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right now, there's a lot of fights that could happen within that welterweight division.
yeah. There's a lot of fights there that you could look forward to any division right now.
Man,
The
honestly,
divisions
right?
are just that.
Maybe besides light
It's a
heavyweight.
great time for UFC. So I think it's beautiful.
Great time to be a fan, everyone. Man, but after that fight, that brings us into our co-main event of the evening. This was a matchup between Darren Till and Kelvin Gastelum. Darren Till making his middleweight debut and winning his debut via unanimous decision over Kelvin. Big win for him. But what about Gastelum? He had some. That's a couple big losses in a row now. Ever since dropping the interim belt to Israel earlier this year, now losing to Darren Till in his debut. What do you make of this fight, guys?
I thought first off, I thought Darren Till looked really healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, just during the whole week, even though he showed up late. I think he showed up Thursday. I want to say.
Yeah, he got the Thursday. He did. I
Yeah,
agree.
he
did
said he
look
got
a lot-
in 2 days before the fight.
Yeah, that's
no
insane.
thanks to
I mean,
Donald Trump, I guess,
unreal.
right? Did you guys hear about that?
The whole visa
you're having
troubles.
Yeah,
visa.
apparently, our boy Donnie helped him out with his visa. But one of the big, and he also said his biggest holdup was medical clearance in order just to be around Trump, given the security levels. Kind of crazy.
Huh.
Hey, but I guess Donald really wanted that fight to happen if he was willing to help out with the visa right there. Jeez.
I mean, yeah.
He's a fan of the fight game. He's helping him out.
Jorge did call him the bass motherfucker.
I guess.
Man, but this fight, what do you guys think of this one?
I thought it was pretty boring for the most part. I mean, it just looked very timid from the start. Just everybody was kind of just filling each other out. They were really like working within the clinch towards the cage, throwing leg kicks, throwing no more than 2-punch combinations for the most part. I really expected a better fight. Gastelum just really wasn't able to get in range and establish any type of offense. Till was able to keep him
was able to do
at range.
Well, was just to keep that range. Yeah, that was impressive.
That was really impressive. I think pretty much earlier in the fight, they did go into the clinch really early, but it kind of looked like Darren Till initiated it. It definitely think, just like the announcers did say during the event, it kind of looked like Till trying to test out how strong Gastelum was. So he initiated the clinch early just to kind of test it out because it is his debut at middleweight. So just kind of see how he would hold up there. I think he realized that he could, and then at that point it was just tag and go, tag and move, and he ended up winning the fight. Gastelum he couldn't land anything. It looked like he was getting frustrated. His leg got tore up. You could definitely see the redness on his leg early, and I feel like after that he couldn't figure anything out. And then by the time he did figure it out, the fight's over. So,
where do you think Kelvin goes from this fight after consecutive losses in high-profile fights?
Did anybody else think the scoring was a little weird?
What the final score ended up being?
It was 30-27, 29-28, 27-30. So it was just basically split down the middle. It was just one judge completely disagreed with the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand judges, to be honest with you. I do
so
in my
shit.
yeah,
Like how does Gastelum win that 30-27 is where I'm just failing to see the logic in that score.
Yeah, no, I definitely I don't understand how people see stuff like that. I'm a fan of everyone saying that we should change the way we score MMA fights.
What does they want to go more Muay Thai scoring, or
it's kind of Muay Thai scores because it's more based off of the fact that there has been a lot of fights lately to where one person will, let's say, win a round or two, but then another person will just absolutely destroy them in the third round, showing that they had better conditioning, their game plan worked out better, and overall they had the better just fight in general. But since a person was kind of like control, like let's say the last fight that just happened, Stevens versus Rodriguez. A lot of people said Stevens should have won that fight. Based off the fact that Stevens in the second half of the fight, kind of ending the second round and pretty much the entire third round, he pretty much controlled the fight. But so a lot of people saying that should have either been a draw or going to Stevens. And it's just like a lot of fights like that have just been really close. But one fighter is more prepared. And so, some people are really fast starters, and sometimes the game plan is to just let them tire themselves out, and you take them over. And it happens a lot. And then so somebody will get dominated in the second half of the fight, but they gave the first 2 rounds to them, and it's only a 3-round fight. So I'm definitely a fan of changing the rules to where it's who put together the most complete fight, not who put together the most complete round.
Yep, I'd be cool for that. But where do you think, what's Kelvin's next fight? Right now, looking up the most current rankings, you have Darren Till moving all the way up to number 4, Kelvin dropping to 5. What about Kelvin and Cannonier? Would that be a better fight for Darren Till to take against Cannonier?
I think Darren Till needs to fight Cannonier. I would say Gastelum needs to fight somebody else. I would like to see him against somebody.
Maybe like Jack Hermanson, number 7.
I'd like to see him fight somebody else in the top 5 because Israel, he's the champ now. So it's kind of that same situation as Tyron Woodley still being number 2 or number 1, wherever he is. It's kind of that same situation. You lost to the champ, so you can't really get knocked down too far because you lost to the champ. I feel like he should fight Whitaker. I think he fights Whitaker. That rematch, just to see where that one should have gone.
Okay.
I think he either fights Whitaker or whoever ends up fighting Israel. If Paulo fights Israel, but Paulo's hurt. So I would say if he does come back when Israel has a fight, I say Gastelum and Paulo, just to see if Gastelum can either get back there or just to prove Paulo deserves to be up there. Or if he doesn't, I see Gastelum versus Yoel could happen. I just think he needs to fight somebody up there. Yeah, I think he needs to fight somebody up there just because he's lost to two high-profile fighters. Darren Till's still trying to prove himself. So I think he fights somebody that's either going to help them prove that they deserve a title shot because Gastelum is that title or has been that title level that people look for. So I think either he fights somebody to help them prove they deserve a title shot or to prove that he still deserves to be in that title conversation.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you kind of agree with that there, Blake? Or you see something different?
Somewhat. I think I'd go the route of doing Kelvin Gastelum versus Jack Hermanson because I think those are two title contenders that kind of lost the big fights that really were going to earn their right to fight for that.
So you want?
So I'd like to see them run that, and then from there we do. Obviously, Costa's out right now, so he's not an option. So let's say we did Romero versus Israel Adesanya, which is what all the Twitter birds are chirping about as of recent.
Yeah.
So that would take Romero and Adesanya out of the picture, leaving Whitaker and also Cannonier. I think that would be a good one.
I really want to see Cannonier up there because he's been looking really good in this new weight class for him, and I think I think his next fight is definitely going to be some of the top 5 to really prove it that he's legit in this weight class.
Darren Till, it's a tough one. That's because he's still new to the division. So I mean, he beats Kelvin Gastelum, ranked number 4. I'd like to see him fight Robert Whitaker too. That'd be another fight I'd like to see.
Yeah, that would damn near be for the number 1 contender, huh?
But it's like Jared Cannonier right now. He's in my opinion the most dangerous man in that division.
Oh, without
that is the one fight that I would not want if I was in that division right now because he is just taking souls.
He is so fucking powerful. It's insane.
Yes, he is scary.
Or in the great words of the baddest Masvidal, he's baptizing fools.
No doubt.
Wait, what about if we're just looking for raw power in the fight? What if we match up Cannonier against Romero?
That's what I was just thinking. That would be insane.
That'd be so fucking good. There's no way in hell that fight would go the distance. Sweet damn.
Unless they fought, super careful.
Which is... that fight goes 2 ways. Either it's the most boring fight ever because they're too scared to get close enough, or it's the biggest slugfest of all time and we see a really badass knockout.
True.
It takes 2 to tango, that's all.
Man,
that's all I know.
Would be very exciting without doubt. And the last fight on the card was, of course, the welterweight matchup between Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz for the title of the baddest motherfucker in the game, which was presented by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which was just amazing all the way around. First off, what do you guys think of the belt? I actually thought it was really good design. Jalen, thoughts on the belt? No? No thoughts.
Is that me?
Yeah, whatever you guys.
Oh, shoot, my bad. Your audio was cutting out again.
Ah, shit. I'll edit it.
Did you say something about the belt?
Yeah, like, what were your thoughts about the belt?
I thought they looked like it was a Raiders belt, so I was a big fan of it. Looked like they was very Raiders inspired.
Yeah, it's
black and silver.
And it's just home to a bunch of losers, isn't it?
You know what though? It wasn't as cool as I thought it was gonna look.
What were you kind
That's
of
true.
expecting?
I don't know. I don't really know what I was expecting. I guess I was kind of expecting more glitz and glamour. It just kind of looked more like kind of matte. You know, it was like very sleek and just almost like the bare minimum in my opinion. I mean, don't get me wrong, it still looked pretty cool. Like the color scheme for sure, that's like a bad motherfucker belt.
The nice
But-
gray, kind of like a charcoal to it.
I wouldn't have minded them going a little more WWE though and just making it look fucking outlandish, you know, just
Would
like
you-
some
Yeah,
skulls on there
definitely.
or some shit.
They
or
should've
just
done
some-
something
I was
like that
more
old school.
expecting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was definitely more expecting more of a different design than the actual belt.
just
I thought they were
BMF
gonna-
in the middle, like come on.
Yeah, I thought they were really gonna. I thought they were gonna go all out. They kind of made it seem as if it was like a whole new belt itself.
Uh-huh.
This belt kind of just looked like they changed the color of the actual belt and
Yeah.
put BMF instead of UFC.
Man, if we're
Yeah.
if we're talking about WWE route, let's go page out WWF playbook where you just like do something like the hardcore championship belt where it was the normal championship but just like broken and looking like shit. That would have been something.
Or even do it when the NWO won the championship.
Oh, just spray paint over
Hulk
it.
Hogan, he just freaking got spray paint.
Nah,
The spray paint
What
BMF
it really
over
should
it.
have been, what it really should have been was like the John Cena belt. They should have made BMF a fucking spinner in the middle of the belt.
I was literally just about to say that. I was gonna say that. Just the good old WWE
Dude.
freaking heavyweight belt, bro.
Give me
That's
my
the champion
spinny belt,
That's
baby.
fine.
That's what. Hey, everyone's calling this some WWE shit, but honestly, WWE shit is fun. If we're being real,
It really breathed some new life into the sport. I mean, after the whole Connor debacle for the past year, 2 years, the sport's kind of been looking for the next kind of superstars to step up, and
right?
so far it's kind of shown to be Izzy. You know, Masvidal is stepping in there. Nate
Yeah.
Diaz is making his return.
It's not just
know,
about
maybe
the fight
Sugar-
anymore. It's about the entertainment right now too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you got to be
you-
able to fight and back it up. It's what you have to be able to do. And I feel like if you can't cut, pretty much like at the WWE, if you can't cut a promo, your fighting really doesn't matter. And if you can't fight, your promo doesn't really matter. I feel like you need to do both to be in the top.
That's why one of the
Likeness
best
of
fighters
the
in the
UFC.
world right now is the best entertainer. That's Tyson Fury. That dude knows how
Yeah,
to put on a damn show.
definitely.
He knows how to make
And definitely even Deontay Wilder. He's not the more like flashy, but he can still cut a promo.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking throws bombs.
Right?
So
So
Man,
my
I-
thing
I-
with this though, my thing
Yeah.
with the bad motherfucker belt is, does this travel to any weight class? Is this gonna be
yeah, I was thinking about
whoever
that.
whoever holds the belt? Is this like a one of one belt? That's just
Yeah, on the belt it
what
actually
it-
says 1 of 1.
Yeah, it
okay.
was that. And
So
also
that's
on
going
the
to
belt,
travel
it says,
to each person.
Yeah, it also says UFC 244 and 500 for the 500th UFC event. So this does seem like a one-off thing, but that's.
Do you think this is even going to be continued? Then do you think this is going to be over with?
I think
I
it'd be
should
over with. I think it won't be an official belt if Diaz and Masvidal do run it back. I feel like between them, it's going to be for the belt again. But I think all in all, I don't think the UFC is going to promote it as
that's
a belt.
that's kind of why I wanted to bring it to, because this fight, for most of you guys will know.
I think that's
Yeah.
a mistake.
Really, you do? All right, we'll bring that up in a second. But what happened is that the fight was called to a stop after the third round due to a big ass cut over the right eye
Big
of
ass
Nate
cut.
Diaz. Did you guys see the pictures of the stitches he had put in
Yeah.
afterward?
Definitely, that was crazy.
That was a lot of damn stitches. But even with his doctor stoppage, this was seemingly something Jorge was going to win. He dropped Diaz 3 times, and he was looking good.
Yeah.
It's looking damn good.
It's just I understand everyone's frustration with it ending in doctor stoppage. You never want to fight in doctor stoppage,
Let alone
and
the
then
belt
definitely
this motherfucker ending in a
yeah,
doctor stoppage.
and definitely knowing Nate Diaz, you know he has a lot of scar tissue on his face, and he bleeds really easily,
Yeah.
and gets cuts really easily.
Also,
but
it
it's
doesn't
kind
help
of
that he
a
doesn't
lot-
block shit.
It doesn't block shit at all. But it's kind of like the fairness of the UFC. You want to keep things fair, and even though a lot of people are saying, "Oh, you should know the fire. You should know Nate Diaz bleeds like that," but as a doctor going into the fight, that's not what you're thinking about. You're thinking about all in all, health in general. If
Yeah.
you see a dude get haymakered and his head spins in a circle, you're not gonna be like, "Oh, that's Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz could take a punch like that." You're just gonna be like, "That's a human being in there, and there's a lot of blood in there right
Yeah,
now."
that'd
and
be
he's
some Mario
huge
Yamasaki
gaps.
type shit.
Yeah. So
Just throwing up his
it's
fucking
I
hard hands
understand.
and watching someone get their ass beat, not doing anything about it.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's just I understand you want to be like, oh, it's Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz does this, but at the same time, it can't be like that because then it gets unfair. Because then you see a dude who doesn't take a lot of hits and gets knocked out, and he gets hit once, and we stop the fight, and he's like, "What?" And you're like, "Oh, you have a history of not being able to take shots."
Right.
That's when it starts becoming unfair. When you give people unfair advantages, when it's, "Oh, he knows how to take a shot, so I'm gonna give him longer to recover."
Yeah.
So I see why it was fight. Obviously, as a fan, you don't want to see it, so you're not going to agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, if that happened to anybody else, I think we wouldn't be complaining. So I think, in all fairness of the fight, I think it was the right call to make.
Yeah, that's for Blake. Your thoughts on this one?
I'm on the complete opposite side for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the
You're on the
fight
side
should
of
have
most
kept
people.
going. There's no way you stop the baddest motherfucker goddamn fight due to a cut.
See, what they should have
Jesus
done is
Christ.
change the rules. They should have gone back to the UFC 1 rules, where the fight will only be stopped after someone actually gets knocked out or someone's corner throws in the white towel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the fight. I don't think the result would have changed had the fight gone another 2 rounds. But you don't know. You don't know for sure what would have happened. I mean, you finally saw Jorge getting a little bit winded towards the end of that 3rd round.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what Nate Diaz can put together in 10 minutes.
After the fight, Diaz did say that his game plan was going to go all out for the 4th and 5th too.
Yeah, so I mean,
he
never got to go. He never got to go for his final sprint, and he's a marathon. He's not just a marathon. He's like a triathlon.
Yeah, that guy is cardio. Maybe except for this fight, though, because so you see that he did have the knee injury that he said limited his cardio ability.
Yeah.
Yep. But I mean, and no excuses for that either. I mean, everyone goes into the fight not 100%.
No.
So I mean, it's like that sucks dick. Like whatever. I'm sure Jorge was fucking dealing with his own shit.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is, Nate, like you guys were talking about earlier, is he, for whatever fucking reason, loves to get hit. And he's been hit
stupid.
He's been hit too many times now in his career, especially with a guy that's not as small as McGregor was. He was able to get in those wars with McGregor because McGregor's not as big of a dude as Masvidal is. Masvidal is a bigger dude than McGregor by far. He's a bigger dude than Nate. He looked like the bigger dude, even though Nate's listed as 6 foot, and Masvidal's 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah.
So Masvidal looked like the bigger, stouter dude in the octagon on Saturday night. So, Nate couldn't get away with taking those huge, devastating blows like he could against Conor McGregor. I mean, Conor McGregor bloodied him up, but he didn't fucking cut a gaping vagina hole in his fucking eyebrow.
Definitely.
Oh, you can't say that.
I think one good thing that Joe Rogan pointed out was not who was it? It wasn't. I don't think it was Joe Rogan, but one of the announcers pointed out was, as a fighter, if you get cut early, which the cut happened really, really early in the fight, you have to know, no matter who you are, when you get cut, you have to start going now. You either have to end the fight or keep shit going. And I understand that he is a 4th and 5th round fighter, but he got cut in the first, and the cut got worse for another 2 rounds. And so when you get cut that early and you start bleeding that early, you have to, if you're going to protect any spot, protect that cut. Like, I don't care if you let everything else get hit or another cut opens up that's not as bad. The fight could have kept going, I think, if he at least just protected that cut. But he let the cut keep getting worse and worse and worse. And at that point, it comes down to the fact that as a fighter, it doesn't always come down to just the fight. You also have to have the knowledge of fighting. Exactly. And if you get cut that early and you're bleeding like that, you have to know the doctor can step in at any time and end this. Doctor could have stepped in the first round and ended how bad that cut was.
But if we're just talking about the doctor, I think it's time for all 3 of us and for everyone listening to this at home to put on the tinfoil hats, because it's conspiracy theory time, bitches.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Nate's just got to remember he's in the fucking organized.
Here we go. I got one.
Yeah, this isn't a street fight.
So what's
It's
happening
not a street fight.
is that you had the New York State Athletic Commission, who historically has been I'll say it. They've been the shittiest commission in the entire U.S. Also,
they do have some of the
included.
stricter rules.
Mm-hmm. They are known for being a bunch of douchebags and assholes, and everyone saw the controversy saying that Nate was tested positive for tainted supplements, even though he said that
USADA.
Yeah, you saw it, but it works with the fight commission. We all know they all get paid like that.
They do.
And so, it was the doctor that is hired and approved by the New York State Athletic Commission, and that was just the way of the commission getting back at Diaz for beating USADA, but they wouldn't let him.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how they got
you could say that. You could say that, but at the same time, in what sense can you think that they're like, okay, Nate's gonna get cut open so bad that you're gonna go in there and stop the fight? Because honestly, in my opinion, if that was the goal, you stop that in the second round because he got cut really, really early in the fight, and he was leaking. I think he was bleeding the most in the second. But yeah, I see it. But at the same time, I just honestly think it was more the fact of what was to come. I think the doctor stopped it because he's like, look, you keep getting hit in that spot. It's keep getting open more and more. There's still 2 full rounds. It's only going to get worse. I can't come in the middle of a round. So I think the doctor at that point was like, you just keep getting hit and you're not defending yourself. It's kind of like when the ref warns you, hey, you don't block yourself, I'm going to stop the fight. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a moment like that. It's like, look, bro, you're not defending the biggest cut on your body right now. I can't let you keep fighting, because let's say they let him keep fighting, and then a week from the fight, Diaz is like, I can't see out of my right eye anymore. Now everyone's like, oh, that's a terrible ref, terrible doctor. They should have stopped the fight.
Nah, that's just bisping then, but not as cool.
But I just think in general, obviously, because this is what happened, we're going to see it as a negative. But I think if it would have kept going and Diaz loses the eyesight, or his side of his face fucking falling off, I think it gives Nate a chance to fight another day.
Yeah.
It's just all in all in the fight game.
And shit anyway. But
yeah, if you want to fight like that,
as it went though, before it stopped, it was still a pretty damn good fight.
Definitely, it was a great fight. But my opinion is, if you wanted to fight like that and be cut open and stuff, go fight in bare knuckle. They let you do shit like that. You get gashed open and all that shit. So go fight in bare knuckle. If go watch the bare knuckle if you don't agree with this fight. Yeah. So
damn, Blake, you good there?
Huh?
You good?
Dude, I was struggling with my HDMI cord.
Struggling hard.
Yeah, but that was the card, and so let's just wrap this up with what was your guys' fight of the night?
Go ahead, Blake.
Oh man, that's a tough one for me because I had a couple fights I really liked. I really liked that Shane Burgos fight. I just want to do a quick shout out for that fight. But my fight of the night definitely has to be Masvidal and Nate Diaz.
Yeah. Because
it was just like, I didn't really know what to expect coming into this fight. I'm a big Nate Diaz fanboy. And just seeing the beatdown kind of that Masvidal put on him, it was just like very unexpected. And can't do anything but appreciate a performance like that. I mean, the guy's really come into his own this year. It's been a treat to watch, especially because I was like probably in 5th or 6th grade when YouTube first really became really popular, and Jorge Masvidal was like one of the first huge videos on there with Kimbo Slice and those fucking unicorn videos and all that bullshit. And so it's just kind of trippy to see this guy still just being at the top of the most competitive combat sports organization in the world, and beating up a dude that I've had the opportunity to shake hands with and know for sure is a dope ass person.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's definitely a fight of the night.
Humble brag.
No, I'm just saying, dude. You know for sure that's a bad motherfucker, and he took out a bad mother.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I gotta
Definitely.
respect that.
that's for damn sure. The year 2020, sky's the limit for Jorge, but who knows?
Definitely.
By next summer, he could have the welterweight belt wrapped around his waist for all we know.
hmm
Jalen, your fight
Uh,
of the night.
my fight of the night, if it was really tough for me, I'm probably going to end up going with Masvidal versus Diaz just because it was a great fight.
Mhm.
If I had to choose a different one, I probably would have went with Tavares and Shabazian just because Shabazian it was a beautiful how he just ran that fight through. He
Yep.
kind of kept it going how he wanted it to go, and just everyone was talking about how this is going to be his biggest test, and he completely dismantled Tavares.
Mhm.
I like that fight, but I would definitely probably have to say that Masvidal versus Diaz was a great fight. We had a couple Stockton slaps in there. They were laughing.
Oh yeah,
Masvidal
blew a
started the fight
kiss to the
off faking
fan.
like he was going to do a fucking flying
Oh,
knee.
that was
That
funny.
was beautiful.
As he
That
just
fake
ran at
flying knee
him,
was,
then both
yeah.
started laughing. Then they went to go fight. He had Masvidal take
Exactly,
a
and the
shot to the
entire
head,
time.
then blow a kiss to the crowd.
Yeah, exactly, and it was a fun, entertaining fight, and you don't get to see fights like this all the
No.
time. A lot of times, fighters are taking it so seriously and focused
Hmm.
that they don't really put on a show. I mean, like obviously, if you're a fan of fighting, the fighting part is still great.
Hmm.
Which the fight would have been great even without those antics. But those antics and still having a great fight is hard to do, and I think that made it a beautiful fight. So that's definitely my fight of the night.
I agree with you guys. I will have to go with the main event being fight of the night for all the right reasons. There's nothing against the other fights, but it's just hard to beat the feeling and atmosphere that this one had going into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was fight of the night. Performance of the nights, I'd have to go with Kevin Lee and Stephen Thompson, just for what they were able to do. Kevin Lee with that once again amazing knockout with the head kick, and Stephen Thompson for just dismantling Vincent Luque. What about you guys, Jalen? Your performance of the nights?
My performance of the night, first one, I'd have to give it Shabazian for coming out and fighting his fight and getting an amazing knockout. I still am trying to figure out how he got that combo to work for him,
Yep.
but it was beautiful and very fluid. It was freaking amazing. My second performance of the night, I would have to give to Corey Anderson. I feel like he definitely just dismantled, not just derailed the Johnny Walker hype train. He dismantled it piece by piece,
Mm-hmm.
and then add a little razzle dazzle at the end of it. So
The old razzle dazzle. Hell yeah.
I definitely have to give the second performance tonight to Corey Anderson.
I like it. Blake, what about yours?
Definitely Shabazian. That combo was ridiculous. And Kevin Lee, just for knocking a dude out, putting a smile on his face. Can't get over that.
Yeah.
You guys need to see that knockout if you haven't. It wasn't like the levels of the Jorge Masvidal flying knee against Askren, but it got kind of close, honestly.
And
Yeah.
give Kevin Lee some credit because Gillespie was undefeated. I think he was
Yeah.
in like what 13, 14-0.
Yeah, he's no
So he's not
pushover.
like not the Khabib level of undefeated, but he's on the same level as like a Johnny Walker, let's say. You know,
Mhm.
someone that was really kind of taking out any kind of competition that was coming their way, and
Same
Kevin Lee
level
just
of Paulo
fucked
Costa
him
right
up,
now too.
basically.
So that was
So
no
definitely we saw
pushover
two.
fight.
Yeah, we saw two winning streaks dismantle this event.
Yeah, we did. Is that what you consider the biggest surprises to come out of the night? Were those losing streaks coming to an end?
I don't think that was the biggest surprise for me. I think the biggest surprise for me was just the difference in power between Jorge Masvidal and Nate. I think that main event was the biggest surprise for me.
Mm.
I really thought that it was going to be a closer fight than it was because it was 3-0 Masvidal. I mean, if that was a 3-round fight, that's a solid 30-27 easily.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So I think that was for sure my biggest surprise of them.
All right. But there you have it. That is our recap of the one of the biggest cards of the year. Probably only overshadowed by 245. But amazing prelims, amazing main card. The main event did end with a little controversy, but hopefully all that means is that we get a Masvidal Diaz 2 sometime next year, and that will just go. That's just going to make more money for everyone, and that's what the fans want to see, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Fans love to see a good fight.
Exactly. But thank you, Blake. Thank you, Jalen, for joining us tonight. Your knowledge is always appreciated on the show.
Yep. Thanks for having me, man. It was a pleasure.
Of course. Jalen will be back on here for podcast number 11. And with that, I thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for joining us today. And here's to UFC 245, right?
Woo woo.
Yeah. Have a great one, everyone.